task force.
That's it. And therefore, every instruction that they gave me, I had results. Whether I pursue the activity the way they directed me or in my way. Most time I did the activities applying my own plan and my own philosophy on it, my own psychology on it, and I was always successful.
Would, however, at the same time have brought you into a lot of challenging circumstances. So let's talk a little bit about, first of all, about the Brayton 7.
Yes.
Because that was one of the big challenges that you faced as a police officer. This is the killing of 7 young men at a house in Brayton, in St. Catherine.
Yes.
And you encountered a lot of criticism over that, including from the police commissioner at the time.
Yes, and the government too.
Yes.
I remember, I was called to the commissioner's office at 3 p.m. a particular day in question. Because it never only started in Brayton. As a matter of fact, it didn't start in Brayton, it started at the Above Rocks police station, where criminal elements went there, shot and killed the policeman. After they went and asked him for water. And a lady was also shot across the road. And the commissioner gave me certain instructions and certain intelligence, which I followed. The same day, well, it happened, I think it was, I don't remember if it was the night or, but however, my men and I started working on the intelligence the very moment we got it, which led us to Cassava Peace. And when we went to Cassava Peace, we found one of the suspects. Further investigation brought us to Cumberland. We picked up another suspect.
That's Cumberland in Portmore, St. Catherine.
Yes. And when we went to Cumberland, we saw the uncle of one of the suspects who gave me certain intelligence upon which we worked on, and that brought us to Sealway in Brayton. And the rest is history. We went there, pronounced my presence, identified ourselves, and asked the people to come out. Told them we had a warrant to be executed on them and so on. We heard a lull for about 5 minutes, nobody answered. But we knew they were there because the intelligence and other persons who led us there, we were sure.
This would end in a sort of massive shootout.
Yes.
That would make headlines across the country and also international in a sense. And I want to talk to you a little bit as we go to the break, when we come back from the break, about how you dealt with that kind of criticism and also some of the more controversial and other controversial issues. But we're going to take the break right now and continue our interview with Renato Adams right after. You are watching Profile. I'm Archibald Gordon. Stick around.
I go in the jail here and all this foolishness. I wasn't to have gone to West Kingston on that operation. Another senior officer to me was appointed to go and called the commissioner and told him about 2 a.m. that he was sick. His pressure went up, everything like that, and he's asking permission not to be sent. So what they did, the commissioner called me and told me that I had to lead the operation. I said, well, Commissioner, I have no information. They sent the information and gave it to me. And the whole sketch, the risk management plan I had to put in place very quickly. And we went in. Guns were recently taken to the event, was it, I don't remember the name of it, may have been the event home premises. Drugs, guns, ammunition. We went there when we first heard when we found the first gun, and reported to control that we found the first gun. we heard gunshots start firing from every direction in Western Kingston, and by extension, Tivoli. And they put out to kill us. We had to exert and put in practice our training. I remember having been on my back and doing a motion as if you were in the sea, swimming. Obviously, with my gun behind and like a worm on the ground.
Yes.
For half a mile till we reach a Coronation Market because we couldn't stand up. We would have been shot and killed. A corporal, one of my bodyguard, couldn't take the pressure anymore. And he said, "Super, we're moving out of this place." I said, "Where you going? You're going to be killed." And less than a minute after that conversation and that action, he was shot.
Close to you, by the way.
Close to me?
Yes.
Very close to me. And a lot of story came out. They say I work with science. They say I work with science because when they put the AK-47 on me, it didn't fire. But when they put it on somebody else, it fired. Or when they tried to fire it elsewhere, it fired. And they put it on me again and it didn't fire.
I want to go back to that question that I asked you earlier in this, not just about this incident. Yes. Tivoli is another one. We also had Crawl, where 5 people were killed at a house in Clarendon.
Yes.
And I wonder the extent to which do you look back at all of these and think, yeah, that was the right course of action?
Yes.
You ever have pause?
I have never. I did my introspection, yes, and retrospection and even inspection on all the issues involved. And I asked myself, could I have done anything better or different? And the answer I keep on getting is only that if I had run away. And Renato Valentino Adams not running away from criminal attacks and criminal behavior. It must be suppressed. It must be brought under control. And the last extent to which I would apply my authority. If you did not lay down your arms and during a gunfire or a shootout you were shot and killed, then you would only have yourselves or yourself to be blamed.
So we know your position quite clearly on these cases.
Clear.
But I want to move from these cases to talk a little bit about what you're doing right now. Renato Adams is my guest on Profile. We've spent time talking about his time in the police force, and in our final segment we're going to be talking about relationships and what he's up to now. Now, because of security reasons linked to the fact that you are so controversial and people want to get back at you for some of those incidents, we're not going to delve too much into the romantic relationships, but you have children.
Yes, I have children, all of whom.
How has fatherhood changed you and shaped you?
Well, I separate what I do, whether commercially or in the police force or what, from my family structure. I have never divulged, and not many persons know if I have children, if I have a special person or what. And I deliberately keep that away from the public. We went to church, I go to church with my family. Family sits at the side of the church.
And you sit on the other side?
I sit on the other side. I don't talk to them. We don't go in together. We drive different cars.
Even now?
Even now. So for security reasons. Because we have criminals whom we have already sent to prison, who are now coming out from prison. And even though there is a particular time when certain dons were killed, they celebrate it every year still. And some of them want to celebrate it by killing a senior police officer, whether serving or retired. And I'm conscious of that, so I still, my security consciousness And my security preparation
stays at the same level,
is
even
better
into
than
retirement.
I was in police force.
How do your children deal with this? What do you say to them? Because they're not just having to deal with this from the security perspective, but also hearing what people say about you.
Yes.
Hearing the controversies.
Well, they hear people talk and they don't take up from here anything, and they don't open their mouth to talk about that.
You tell them not to as well?
Yes. Just ignore. Just ignore. I have taught them, I have trained them, mentally, physically, psychologically, how to deal with it. I always use this term to them, it's not that you see operating. You see an agent of the state operating.
In that sort of context, how are you as a father different from this, this personality that we know?
Well, my first
crime fighter.
Well, my first child became 52 years old last month. And all coming down the line, I treat them and we treat each other as if they were still 2-3 years old in the home.
You're close to your children?
Very close. Birthday. I support still. If anyone calls me and say, Daddy, I need to buy this, I need to buy that. Although all of them, but two, have their degree up to a PhD level. Not all, but at least one at the PhD level and two at the master's level. And they called and asked for anything. I don't say that you're not working. I say, come and get it. And we love each other, we talk. I train them security. They live a life that was prepared for them by their father.
And you've also prepared life so that in retirement, you're pretty comfortable.
I am probably more than comfortable. I worked hard. I've been working now for 62 years. I'm 73 years old. And at 12 years old, I started working. And I've never stopped. From I have been 12 years old, I have been working every day to today.
Even now?
And even now. I run a security company. And I should give you some story if you have the time on that. When the criminals come to my locations and they hear that this location, the security is provided for by Renato Adams, they don't return. The extortionists quote me, let them call in and tell you that that's not the case. They don't return. Them say the boy the Adams without nothing to do with him. All of them. I have never had a situation in any of my locations that were that serious, that would have driven your client away.
So the crime security firm is one of your current exploits, but outside of that,
yes, I do farming.
For the fun, you do farming, but and for the fun side of you that people might not know.
For the fun side, I'm a good dancer. I love all music, dance, all.
Renato Adams is a dancer.
A very good dancer. If you put on music, I drop foot for you and all them so. And I swim a lot. I drive a Evolution 10 at 73 years old.
You told me I love fast
300 kilometers an hour, fully modified. I drive a STI Subaru Impreza WRX, fully modified. I have a Chev Camaro Z28, 8-cylinder.
8-cylinder.
1,000 horsepower. And I drive these cars myself. I love swimming, I love going around to the country. I love the sea, I love the rivers, I love the mountain, I love the birds, I love everybody.
You're enjoying retirement.
You're enjoying retirement. Even the criminals, I find no problem with them. I don't hate them. I just hate their action. And we deal with their actions.
You're enjoying retirement?
I do. I have a bar in St. Elizabeth. I have a grocery shop. I do my farming. I am in layers now, everything.
As you say layers, you mean layers chicken?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And yes, I have siblings too. My brother still lives in St. Elizabeth, my sister. You know. And to divulge a little, my sister's name is Retinella Panchita Pandora Ethel Adams.
We didn't even get into this question of how your name came about.
Yes.
Which was your parent, your mother, your father, your grandparents also naming you, which is why from
yes,
people.
Well, my grandmother quickly went to Cuba in those days.
Yes.
Then she had my mother. And then my father came up and was in the Panama Canal. And they were working in the Panama Canal. So all these three persons had people who were very nice to them.
Which is where those names come from.
Renato came from one, D. Cordova came from one valley, and there's a fourth name. But when I went to the birth, well, not by a force, not me as force. It was my mother when she went to register me. They ran around the place and said, a fourth name can hold on the birth certificate. So, that's it. I am happy, in good health. You'll have heard that the COVID had visited with me, and I just, in colloquially speaking and jokingly speaking, I said to my friends, I just fire 6 shots at it and you're gone like a thief.
Renato Adams, thanks so much for joining us on Profile. This was a real pleasure.
Thank you, sir, and thank you, Jamaica.
Thank you as well at home for joining us as well. I'm Archibald Gordon. See you next time.